Today we're going to travel back in time. Yeah, really, I mean it. No. Back to the Future style. Promise. All right, let's get into the mode of a dad from 2005. A dad from 35-year-old male, balding, of course. Married, 2 kids. Been married for 5 years. Yeah, they got married at 30 years old. 2000, year 2000, Y2K. They had a Y2K wedding. Yep. Oh yeah, it was Y2K themed. They got married on 12/31/99. 12/31/99. Gosh, what a celebration that was. So when we got married, we bought ourselves a new computer and we got ourselves a Gateway. It's a nice little machine. We still have it. Yeah, still have it in the summer of 2005. Just like our marriage, this thing has weathered, oh, so many things. 9/11, for example. Yeah. You know, my travel agency really took a hit. Yeah, I'm a travel agent. Yeah. That's the thing right now. Big thing, big business. We're doing tons of business. But after 9/11, we took a huge hit. It took a while for us to recover from that, but I think we'll be okay. They keep saying the internet. Oh, screw the internet. The internet's not going to take over. No, come on. Where are you going to get your plane tickets? You print them out? Come on. Don't be silly. Like really? Yeah. The wife is she's an internet entrepreneur. Yeah. She weathered the .com bust. You know, she did okay, but I really see big things for MySpace. I think MySpace is really going to change the world, and my wife is, she's really happy with her job, and she's loving it, really. She used to work for AOL, but, you know, it didn't work out so well for her. But anyway, so yeah, we decided to take the kids on a trip. We want to go to New Orleans. We're going to go to Six Flags, New Orleans. And we're planning on leaving on August 22nd or so. So we're going to borrow my dad's 1998 Winnebago. We're going to load it up, and we're gonna take a little trip down to New Orleans. It's going to be great. So I decided that, you know, I need to keep in touch with my travel agency, and you know, my phone isn't going to do the job. It's a Nokia 5100, and but I want to do more than just, you know, voice calls. I want to be able to actually remote into the systems and just keep an eye on things. You know, I'm in charge. I'm the big cheese. They call me the big cheese. You know, I'm in charge of the business. It was my dad's business originally. You know, he actually taught me the ropes, and he's letting me kind of take over a little bit. And so I decided, you know, I should pick up a nice little laptop. You know, a lot of people are buying these now. They're getting to be really affordable. You know, the last laptop that my dad bought for the business was around $5,000. You know, but it was a compact LTE 5000, and we still have it. Still works. So we went ahead. We I went to Dell, right? I go to the Dell's website, and I'm checking it out. You know, the guy on the TV said, you know, dude, get a Dell, and I'm like, all right, I want a Dell. Yeah, successful ad campaign, right? Makes me want to buy a Dell. So I went over to Dell's website and I checked out their offerings, but I'm like, there's got to be something cheaper. You know, as an American, I am a cheap, you know, MF, right? You know what that means. I'm a cheap MF, right? My kids call me the cheap guy because they lack all sense of imagination. They're like, hey, cheap guy, get an imagination, kids. Figure, that's weak. You can do better than that. Come on. Who raised you? So I decided, I hopped into my 2003 Volkswagen Passat because I got that kind of dough. And I went over to Walmart to pick up some eggs. We're looking at buying a new TV. And we're looking at those 32-inch Philips TVs. We were looking at possibly going with a flat screen, but they're just not there yet. I don't think the flat screen thing is going to take off. I mean, the image quality is so bad. I mean, you got all that. You can't even make a decent black level on a LCD or even a plasma TV. So we're like, and they're so expensive. I mean, I'm all for spending money on good stuff, but 10 grand for a TV, I just can't justify it. I mean, the cheapest one you could find was around $5,000, but it's only a 42-inch, and I can buy a 42-inch big screen TV for much less. So we're looking at the Philips Magnavox. So I think it's a 50-inch. It's a 50-inch projection, rear projection. And I asked the guy over at Walmart, like, how is rear projection? I mean, I know in the 80s they weren't that great, but how are they now? And he's like, oh, they're this fantastic HD TV, is coming out, and it's high def, and it's it'll be a decent product, and for $1,200 you can get a 50-inch TV. I mean, I'm like, well, that's pretty sweet. So so I borrowed my buddy's GMC Jimmy, and we were going down there because it's not going to fit in my Passat, I went down there in the Passat, and they're like, yeah, it's not going to fit in that car. So I bought a GMC Jimmy. I borrowed a GMC Jimmy from my buddy. Ironically, his name is Jimmy. And so we drove down in a GMC Jimmy, and the gentleman in electronics at Walmart looked at me kind of funny. He's like, you're going to load this TV onto that. I'm like, yeah, just pull the tailgate down. We'll put it up against the glass. Because the Jimmy's got a glass gate that goes that's on top, and there's a metal tailgate on the bottom. Tailgate opens up, and there's this glass gate that opens up like that. We're just going to lean it against the glass. And the guy looked at me. He's like, you're kidding me, right? You're kidding me. You're kidding me. You're going to load a 50-inch Philips TV, projection TV, on the tailgate of a GMC Jimmy with a glass. Yeah, why not? Folks, I'm going to break character for a second. I really did work at Walmart in 2003, and this really did happen. I made the guy sign a waiver. I'm like, I am not taking responsibility for this. You are loading it on this truck yourself. I will not take any blame for what's about to happen. And he signed it. And he really did. He really made me load. I made him. I didn't make him do anything. Let me rephrase that. I wanted nothing to do with it. I carried the TV out, and he literally loaded a 50-inch projection TV on the tailgate of a GMC Jimmy, leaning it against the glass, which had no support of any kind. This really happened, folks. And you're sharing the road with this guy probably to this day if he's still alive. He probably blew himself up with fireworks that 4th of July anyway. So let's get back into character. Anyway, I loaded up my TV. My buddy helped me out. Went into the store to grab a few other things. I need some cables, and I needed an optical audio cable, and I needed an S-video cable for my new DVD player. So, yeah. So I asked the customer in electronics, or the customer. I asked the employee back there. I said, thanks for helping me out with the TV, but my wife and I are looking to go to New Orleans, and we're going to travel in an RV. We want a laptop with wireless. I'm going to need a DVD player, and for the kids, I need color screen, of course. And he looked at me and he's like, we got a couple of different laptops that we sell. We just got these in. We're now starting to sell more computer stuff. It's a big business these days. The economy roaring as it is. And he showed me a couple of different laptops. He had 2 HP Pavilions, and he had an Averatec. The Averatec was the one that I was more interested in because it had the smallest price tag. And I'm like, how is this laptop? Is it any good for $1,000? What do I get? So he said, well, for $1,000, you're not going to get the best quality laptop. But the Averatec is a South Korean product. It's made by Trigem. Trigem brought us the E-Machines product line, and they're trying to make headway into the low-end laptop market because it is really starting to boom these days. And he told me that for $1,000 you get an AMD Sempron 2800, a Windows XP Home Edition, a 4-in-1 media card reader, multi-format DVD burner, RRW. It's an inch thick, weighs just 4.5 pounds, has 512 megabytes of RAM. That's upgradable to about a gigabyte or so, and a 12-inch XGA display. It also features onboard 802.11g wireless. I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. Why don't I go home? I'm going to set up this TV for the wife. We'll put on some Malcolm in the Middle for the kids, and the wife and I will go on the website and take a look at what Averatec has to offer. So I goes home, and I got over to my gateway desktop that the wife and I bought for our wedding, and I opened up the web browser. Internet Explorer 5, baby. And I searched for Averatec. And I hit return. Where I was immediately whisked away to Averatec's homepage. And to my surprise, there it was. Now this is a laptop that the gentleman at Walmart was telling me about. This is the 3200 series. I liked what it said. Used some pretty decent specs. So the model I'm looking at here is the AV3270EE1. It's got an AMD Sempron 2800, 68 hard drive, 12-inch display, yada yada. It's exactly what I'm looking for. And the price for $1,000 was more than reasonable for me. So I went back to that Walmart, and this, folks, is the Averatec 3200 series laptop from 2005. I did that role-playing thing to kind of get you all into the mood of what buying a computer was like for the average person. I sold a lot of computers back in those days. I worked for Walmart, Office Max, Office Depot, and I helped many people buy often their first computers or their first laptop. They're moving from a desktop, they want a laptop, so I help them, guide them into the direction they need to go. When I worked for Walmart in 2002, they were just starting to buy or sell laptops in their stores, at least in my region. And for the record, I worked for Walmart, store number 1796 in Amherst, New Hampshire. From September 2002 to, I think it was August of 2003. Now, in this scenario we went over, we played the role of a typical, working class, I wouldn't say middle age, 35 isn't quite middle age, I'm almost there myself, married with kids. The reasons they would typically buy a laptop. This is based on basically an amalgamation of many stories I heard from other customers that I was helping with their purchases. Buying a Winnebago, going on a trip. The reasons for buying a laptop back then were often very specific. A lot of it had to do with travel. Nowadays, the laptop is your de facto form factor for a personal computer. Most people own a laptop and a cell phone. Desktops are becoming less and less common, as is the natural progression of things. And if people usually, if they will be using their laptop as a desktop, they'll simply add a keyboard and monitor. This Averatec laptop, as I mentioned in our scenario, was manufactured by Trigem, and I believe this was actually made in China, so not made in South Korea. This particular example was acquired from Savers. I paid $20 for it yesterday, and I've been kind of playing with it a little bit. I got lucky in this case. I got some of the original documentation. I got the quick start guide. I got the little instruction pamphlet they give you on how to recover from the onboard partition. There is no CD in here. And we have the Windows XP user agreement and licensing book. And troubleshooting. These were a joke. There was no legitimate information in here that could be used for anything. It was really just they just included it just so they could show that, hey, Windows XP. So, Averatec was a fairly low-end computer brand, sold alongside. I believe they were selling these through many of the same channels that they were selling their e-machines line through. And later, Averatec was actually terminated. I think this brand existed until 2011, I think. 2011 or 2012, where they completely discontinued the line. But it was definitely a discount notebook, and I believe the e-machines laptops are derivatives of the Averatec product line as well. Opening this thing up reveals a very 2005 interior. The laptop's color scheme reminds me of luxury cars from the early to mid-2000s. They used a lot of silvers and grays, and electronics manufacturers caught on to that. So they started painting TVs, VCRs, DVD players, basically phones, and any consumer electronic device you bought in that time frame between 2002 to 2006 or 7. Silver. It was always silver. And the problem with silver is it scratches so easily. This laptop, I did examine it pretty closely, and it has very little to no signs of use. I mean, it was used, absolutely, but it's not worn or beat up or anything. And even it has scratches here and over here. Now, I once acquired I think it was a Lenovo N100 laptop, and it had literally been used maybe 2 or 3 times, and even it had scratches on it. It's unfortunate, really, but looking at the bottom of this thing, it's in really good shape. It still has the Windows XP license affixed to it. It was a factory refurb. It was refurbished on 10 of 2006. It still has the warranty stickers on it. It's all here. It's all there. There's not really any dust in it. It's definitely a good example of a survivor. And like I said in our scenario, it does feature a lot of... It's packed. It really is packed for what it is, for what it sold for. We've got 3 USB... These are probably USB 1 ports. I don't think these are going to be USB 2. DVD-ROM, CDRW drive built right in. We've got a 56K modem and a 10100 Ethernet port. We've got a PCM-CIA slot. Now this is uses a blank rather than a shutter to protect it when it's not in use. That's also very typical of this time period when manufacturers began to reduce their costs. And one interesting aspect of this laptop is it does feature a socketed AMD Sempron processor. This can be upgraded, so long as the cooling system can keep up with the demands. Another thing I noticed about this, and this is pretty common for some business laptops of this time period, but there's a spot here you can insert a business card or an ownership card of some kind, an asset ID or something to that effect. This is a clear pocket, and you can just slide a card right in here. You don't really see that anymore. And even, again, for a discount laptop, it even has a built-in memory card reader. It reads both memory stick, secure digital, and multimedia card, which is really nice. Typical of laptops of this time period, the aspect ratio is almost 1:1. I mean, that display isn't a complete square, but it's pretty close to it. Let's get a better look at that. Almost a complete square. I miss these days. I mean, this is great. If you're working on documents, these page view displays were just, even though it's not a true page view display, it is fantastic to work on. Very easy on the eyes. The keyboard is very simple, straightforward. It's not cluttered with internet access buttons and special function keys. Of course, the function row does have sub-functions. So it goes from F1 to F10. F11 and 12 are accessed by hitting function F1 or F2 respectively. It does feature your typical laptop function keys. Brightness up, brightness down, external display on or off, sleep, and it looks like what appears to be a cascading window button. Here we've got num lock, caps lock, scroll lock. Volume is adjusted through an analog thumb wheel right on the front. It does have one feature that drives me nuts though. It's not a feature, it's more of a design peculiarity. I found this on some earlier IBM ThinkPads. I know the 700 series is known for this. But the speaker grills are in the palm rest. So as you're typing, if you're listening to music through the speakers, you are blocking the sound almost completely. It does have one special function key, and that is wireless on and off. This is also very common on laptops that came from the factory with integrated wireless LAN. Either you had a software function key or you had a hard switch on the edge of the machine. Status indicators are right here on the top. You've got your CD access, hard drive access, and your 3 lock keys. Num lock, scroll lock, and caps lock. On the front edge of the machine, you've got your power status indicators, power on or off, wireless on or off, and your battery charge indicator. Let's fire it up. Fortunately, this laptop was refurbished. It was rebuilt completely by its previous owner, more likely prior to donating it to the local Savers store. It has its factory image, which is completely out of the box fresh, which is pretty rare. And I'm going to make a backup. There's a utility on this laptop where I can make a backup of that image, and I'm going to do that as soon as I finish making this video. We're also going to test the DVD-ROM drive and see how well that works. I've got I won't tell you what this is, but we'll put that on and see if it plays it. So this is basically your out-of-box state on this laptop. This is typical of many OEMs. HP, Compaq, Dell, E-machines, be it a desktop or a laptop, they were stuffed with crap junk software. Or crapware, as it was often called. And Norton Antivirus 2004 was definitely part of this one. Either you got Norton or you usually got McAfee. And personally, I've had the best luck with Norton Antivirus back in the day. McAfee, I don't think McAfee has ever protected any machine I've ever put it on. But I was never one to really get many viruses on my computer anyway. I think I may have had one outbreak in my life, and that was a DOS virus many years ago. The MBR virus. Anyway, so we're going to cancel that. Again, factory image. It's got the original Averatec desktop background, and you've got this little stacked cube-looking thing here. This is a side effect of the, I believe it's CyberLink DVD CD authoring software that was included. Is it CyberLink or is it something else? It is... yeah, I think it's CyberLink. Yeah, CyberLink Power Starter. That's interesting. It also has Now, Phoenix, who makes the BIOS on this laptop, also they have this application that was included. They must have created a kind of a so Averatec must have used their recovery solution. It's a system recovery suite. It allows the manufacturer to package the machine with a hidden partition that includes all recovery software, and the front-end interface is made by Phoenix, which is interesting. I've never seen this before. It's called Phoenix CME Guardian, and I have never seen this on any product before. I know that eMachines products usually used I believe it was like a modified packaged version of Symantec Ghost, and the recovery image came on 2 CDs, and they used basically Ghost to recover the machine, at least in the 2 that I bought back in the day. What else do we have? We got Adobe Reader 6. We've got the owner's manual, the Averatec 3270 owner's manual. It took me a while to find this exact machine on the archived copies of Averatec's website, because it came in a variety of variants over the course of about a year, from 2004 to 2005. And I know that, going back to my Walmart days, in 2002 to 2003, we did in fact sell 3 laptops. One of them was an Averatec, similar to this one, and the other one was the other 2 were HPs. And our desktops largely consisted of eMachines, Acer, and I think we had some HPs as well. But here's the owner's manual. And again, I'm going to make a backup of all this. But this is just a basic, generic. It doesn't even look like this laptop. It's just, yeah, just generic. So there's that. All right. Internet Explorer. So we're running Windows XP Service Pack 2. And I remember when that came out. That was a big deal. That was a big deal. Let's take a look at this DVD. Let's see how she plays DVDs. Let's see how the audio comes up too. I tried connecting it to my wireless network by turning this little button on, and of course the wireless icon comes up. But it won't authenticate with my modern security requirements. So I have to... I was planning on setting up a dedicated router just for vintage computers, and I will do that at some point. So let's play this DVD using Averatec's version of Power DVD 5. This is a customized version licensed to Averatec, but you'll find this software on basically any computer from that time frame.
And why am I here? Why do I wish the music industry and the rest of the globe would just suck me? All started 5 nights ago.
Now you can't hear much of anything.
But I was about to get a case of the Black Plague.
These speakers are terrible. If I put my hands on this to type and I'm listening to music, I can't hear anything. I mean, I can hear it, but very poorly. So this is definitely a machine that you want to use with headphones if you're going to use it for any media applications or with external speakers. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty. I know that I'm usually pretty harsh on less expensive or cheaper equipment like this, but I got to be honest. This is not a bad little machine for what it originally sold for. And that's $1,000 and $2,005. That wasn't that crazy. You know, laptops typically ran the gamut between $1,100 to $1,200 and up, and the sky was the limit. Another thing I like about this laptop is it being a 2005 machine. It has, again, this square display that I miss these so much. So much usable space. So another feature I love about these earlier laptops, I mean, I say earlier, but these were like mid-2000s. These trackpads were the best. It was a simple trackpad. It was a square trackpad. It was fairly small, had 2 hard function buttons, left and right click, which could be reversed by switching it to left-handed mode. And some of them even had built-in scrolling areas. So if I wanted to scroll through a document, let's go back to my manual here. I could scroll up and down by using the extreme right, or scroll left and right using the bottom. And there it is. It works. It works great. Look at that. Scroll up and down, just like it should. Now you really have to put your finger in that edge for it to register, but that was the point. It was designed so that you wouldn't accidentally scroll through a document when you really intended to just move the arrow. Left and right, of course, this doesn't have, but if I push my finger down on the edge here, it stops registering movement. See? It's not moving the hand, but if I move my finger up a little bit, same with the up and down. So, it's just a very simple, very straightforward trackpad, and it's unfortunate that we have strayed so far from this design that trackpads today are literally, I cannot use them. I cannot use a modern trackpad. I accidentally swipe with 3 fingers by accident, and then it starts, sending all my personal photos to Facebook or some stupid thing. I really wish we would just take a step back and just go back to this style laptop. Another thing that's become a thing these days, and one of the deciding factors with when it came to getting rid of my MSI laptop, is keyboards with numeric keypads on laptops. Look, I get it. You want to make sure that numerical keypads are great for data entry, but on a laptop, this is the thing that drives me crazy. When the keyboard is offset and it's sitting in front of me, it's like, I don't like that. I don't like the trackpad off-center. It should be center. I don't like today's laptops. I think they're just beasts of unusability. You can coin that phrase. You can quote me on that. Beasts of unusability. They're too big. They're too light. They're too thin. There's nothing to them. I'm fine with no optical drive. I'm okay with that. I don't really use the drive anyway. But, so that's why when I buy my next laptop, it'll be a smaller size. Usually the numerical keypad you're going to find on a much bigger laptop, a 15-inch or larger. And yes, they do make 17-inch laptops for some reason. Like, who are you kidding? Anyway. Net Zero. Given the targeted customer for this laptop, it was only natural to include Net Zero and not AOL. Net Zero, I'll open this up here, offers $9.95 a month for unlimited dial-up. High speed was $14.95 a month. Now with pop-up blocker. Obviously, none of this would work today. But Net Zero really was targeted towards a lower socioeconomic bracket than AOL. AOL was largely targeted towards beginners and people with more money to burn than they needed to, because you had to pay for AOL, which was $25 a month, and of course your telephone service that it piggybacked on. And many people had separate telephone lines for their internet. So I would say the ideal AOL customer would have a separate line for either fax or internet use, and an AOL subscription. And that would have run them approximately, if they did it that way, I figure a phone would have cost around, I think I paid $30 to $40 a month for my phone when I had one. And then AOL was another $25. About 70 bucks a month, $75 a month for internet. Yeah. It was really that expensive, and that was in 2004, 2005, 2003, and yeah, I think most customers had that type of a setup. My parents were cheap, so we used the same phone line for everything, which was a real bear. But anyway, what else can I tell you? I mean, this is a real diamond in the rough. It's not worth much. It's probably worth all of the $20 I paid for it. And unfortunately, the battery is done. No good, no battery. That is unfortunate. The pack, however, can be rebuilt. pull it out for a second here. Let's see what it looks like. This uses just, you know, standard NiCad cells. Is it lithium ion or NiCad? It's lithium ion. And if I wanted to crack this pack open and rebuild it, I could do so. Don't think I'm gonna, but I could if I wanted to. Finding a laptop like this is like finding a Daewoo Lanos. They're very rare. You know, they made a lot of these, they sold a lot of these, but they didn't hold up. And it's strange because, I mean, it's a fairly rugged machine. I mean, it has a lot of stiffness. I remember looking at the laptops we offered at Walmart back then, and the Averatec was stiffer than the HP, which cost more. This has a very heavy-duty magnesium alloy shell or casing inside of it. It is not. It says 1-inch thin and light magnesium alloy casing. It's a misnomer. It's not a casing. It's more of an internal support. So this is a fairly strong little laptop. And I think they didn't survive because most people just threw them away. They didn't have a lot of resale value, and they just threw them away. Even though you could upgrade the RAM, hard drive, and processor in this sucker. And it would probably last a lot longer if you really wanted it to. So that's pretty much all I got for you here. I'm going to go ahead and make a recovery set for this because I want to put a bigger drive in it. I've got a bigger drive and might as well use it, right? I think I've got 100 gigs sitting around here somewhere. Why not put it in? So I'm going to recover it to that new drive. Oh yeah, I gotta plug it in. Because I can. Because why not? And maybe we'll make another video out of it. Alright, thank you for watching.